Hi everyone, it's great to see you. The other day I spoke to you about the Hosta Virus X, HVX, and tested one of the hostas in my garden, which fortunately was negative. However, when I was out shopping yesterday, I came across this hosta. It happens to be a hosta that I'd really like to have in my garden. This is a snake eyes hosta. And taking a close look at it, I thought, oh, I think this hosta might have HVX. And decided that I would purchase it and bring it home and test it to see if that is the case or not. So if it tests negative, I'm going to put it in a pot separate from my other hostas and watch it probably for a year or so just to make sure it's really okay. But I am afraid that it does show a lot of signs of a typical HVX infected hosta. So if you take a look at these leaves, the leaf on the left here is what I would really expect to see for a typical snake eyes hosta leaf. And then this leaf to me shows a lot of the HVX signs. You can see that the color has what they call bleeding along the vein lines, and it's often that color change that you see first if you have a hosta that does have HVX. You also notice that you're sort of seeing some of this puckering in the leaf, which is also a sign. The Hosta Library has provided us with a series of pictures of leaves, hosta leaves, that show the HVX virus symptoms. So take a look at some of these and it will give you a good idea of what to be on the lookout as you purchase new hosta for your garden. You're really looking at the coloring along the veins of the leaves. So those hosta leaves that are showing some signs of the hosta virus have sort of this bleeding look of color, sort of ink blotting along the veins. And then you'll also notice that these leaves often start to sort of pucker up in odd ways. It's like the fleshy part of the leaf is sort of deteriorating from the virus. You can find more pictures like this at the website that I've linked below. So I'm going to use the testing kit that I had to test this to see what we come up with. So I have my little pouch here of the testing fluid. These have been kept in the refrigerator and I've warmed this one up to room temperature. So when you test your hosta for HVX, you just cut the top off and there is this little netting in between here. It's a double layer. And then you take your infected piece or piece that you think is infected of your hosta and you cut about a quarter size of it off. That's going to be our tissue sample that we are going to check on. So opening up this pouch again, I'm going to put it in between the two little layers of netting which are sticking together, so this is going to be tricky. And I'm going to pop it down the bottom here. You're supposed to push it to the bottom all the way. There we go. And then take some blunt object and we need to extract the tissue sample by pounding or rubbing it until the liquid in here turns sort of a greenish, yellowish, brownish. So give me a second to do that. It's a lot like making pesto. Okay, that's pretty green there. That's looking good. And I'm just going to sort of push the liquid down the bottom and over to this corner. So in this little test kit here, over at the side, there is a clear strip. And that is where I'm going to put our testing strip. You're not supposed to have the testing strip really touch any bubbles, so I sort of try to work the bubbles back a little bit here. I still have some bubbles. Okay, I think we're good. Excellent. The testing strips come in this little tube here. So I'll pop one of these out. And you don't do anything to this strip. It has sort of, it looks like a little plastic layer over it, and you're not supposed to do anything to that. You hold the end with the brand name written right on it. And then you just lower it in. There we go. Okay. Now you need to keep this in an upright position. So I'm going to just tip it over here against the pot, and it'll stay like this for about 30 minutes. So the directions say that it could test positive within 5 minutes, but wait the full 30 just to make sure. And we will see how the Snake Eyes Hosta does. See you in 30 minutes. Hi everyone, it's been about 25 minutes and we are back and ready to check the HVX test that we are running, and it is definitely a very positive test. So on this little test strip, if you see one line, it is negative. If you see 2 lines, then it is positive, and we do have 2 lines here. So I definitely won't be keeping this hosta. There's a little part of me that's proud for recognizing that it has HVX and knowing the signs to look for, and you now know those too, so keep your eyes out in your garden, in the areas that you're shopping in. I am, just out of curiosity, going to run one more test on this plant, and I'm going to test a leaf that doesn't show any signs of HVX, just to see if that tests positive or not. I still wouldn't keep the plant even if that one leaf is okay. When you look at the guidelines online, it says if you do find that part of your hosta looks infected, it's not like you can dig it up and save the half that looks fine or not. That usually it doesn't show the symptoms visibly for up to 3 years after it's been infected. So you have to dispose of the entire plant. And this is very much like with any other illness. You don't want it spreading to your other plants, so it's worth sacrificing a hosta here or there to make sure that the rest of the hostas in the world are staying healthy. I have snipped off a healthy looking leaf, and I'm going to use this for my tissue sample. We are back with our second sample from the hosta. This was a sample from the leaf that looked completely fine. And yes, there are 2 lines here showing that it is a positive test result. So I guess that this is reassuring that the test definitely does give us some good information here. I feel good knowing that I tested a hosta out in the yard and that it was negative. So I feel like we've averted disaster here and not putting out a hosta that has HVX. And this is just one of those cases where knowing about HVX is going to be helpful to you and other gardeners. So I'm going to link the website below that really gives a lot of good information that wants people to share information about HVX, not to scare you into not having hostas, but to make sure that you're just keeping an eye on the well-being of hostas so that we can really still enjoy those in our yard. So now that I have this result, I am going to bag this hosta in a garbage bag and just put it out in the regular trash and not compost it, because we don't want the virus to spread. And the other thing that's really important to remember to do is to always sanitize anything that you've been cutting your hosta with. So this is probably a good idea no matter what anyway, but grab an alcohol wipe or something. They actually say soapy water, warm soapy water is probably just fine for this too. So I'm gonna go clean my scissors next. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next video.